So Now You See Me, Now You Don't was directed by Ruben Fleischer and it stars Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher, Dave Franco, Morgan Freeman, who appeared in the previous movies. Also features some new faces this time, including Rosamund Pike, Dominic Sessa, Justice Smith, Ariana Greenblatt, and this time around, taking place sometime after the events of the last two Now You See Me movies, a new group of magicians are in the fray, and the Horsemen come back out of hiding to take down this criminal warlord, and we have a new Now You See Me movie. So this was a movie that, I'm going to be honest, I was not really looking forward to. I am not really a big fan of the Now You See Me movies. I actually only saw them for the first time like a year or so ago, and it's like, they're not great really. I think the problem I have with those two movies is that I felt like, despite the magic, they took themselves way, way, way too seriously. It's like, you guys don't get like that this movie is as silly as it sounds, and they're playing it as serious as it can be. So when I heard that there was another Now You See Me movie, I was not really looking forward to it, even with Ruben Fleischer on board, who, I'm not really a big fan of Ruben Fleischer. I did like his Zombieland movies, but other than that, I don't think he's really done anything great. He did Uncharted, he did the first Venom movie, and yeah, I was not very excited for this movie. Even the trailers themselves didn't look that exciting. And if I'm being honest, having seen this movie in theaters instead of on TV for the first time, this movie is fine. I'm not going to go out of my way to say this movie's great and it's fun and such, but I think if you enjoy the Now You See Me movies, you'll likely enjoy this movie as much as you enjoy those movies. Because for me, even though I can kind of see the appeal now with this third movie, I felt like this movie just clearly lost its way. So let's start with some of the things I do like. I do think most of the actors do a pretty good job. I did believe a lot of the stuff they were doing. I believe the chemistry between each of the stars. The person who stood out the most to me was actually Dominic Sessa. I thought he was really good in the movie, and he kind of carried a lot of the scenes that he was in. Dominic Sessa is proving to be an actually really gifted young actor. He was in The Holdovers a couple years ago, and he's now in this movie. I'm very excited to see what kind of career he has, because he's actually really good. A lot of the scenes with magic themselves are really cool. It's like, okay, there are times where I'm like, how do magicians do that? And the movie kind of shows like, okay, how they do various things and such. And I do think they have some fun moments here and there with a lot of the magic. And it's like, we don't get a lot of scenes involving, we get enough scenes with magic. And I do think that they're fun overall. And I do think that there are some funny moments in this movie too. There's some lines of dialogue where it's like, okay, that actually kind of made me laugh. That was so silly and ridiculous that I was like, it kind of made me laugh. So I was at least enjoying myself for a good portion of the movie. And I will say that starting with this movie, I kind of started seeing the appeal of this franchise, where it's like, okay, so they perform magic and such, and they kind of do things with magic and such. My friend kind of said, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like Fast and Furious a bit, because like it's clearly ridiculous and such. But it's like, at least with Now You See Me, they can just explain everything and say magic. Whereas Fast and Furious, it's like, you kind of just need to turn your brain off automatically. No explanation is going to be good. But I definitely kind of started seeing the appeal of the franchise, where it's like, I can kind of see why some people think these movies are a fun time and such. But that doesn't mean that I had a great time overall. I think my main issues with this movie there are a lot of issues with this movie. First off, Rosamund Pike. She's a good actress, don't get me wrong. But I felt like her character was not very good. I felt like her accent kind of just went in and out. And also for a villain who I think is like trying to be like the smartest villain that they've ever had, or at least the most evil, she falls for a lot of really dumb things in this movie. And I was just like, she's got to be one of the dumbest villains I've ever seen in any movie. And it's just frustrating to me, like how she could not see a lot of these things kind of happen, in some cases in plain sight. It just drove me crazy. Also, there are a few scenes where it kind of felt like they were ripping off from other movies and such. Well, I won't go into spoilers or anything, but there's like this one scene involving a room that's actually rotating and such, and I'm like, this feels like I feel like I've seen this before in other movies, other better movies. And like, wow, those movies kind of did it better. But, oh well. It just kind of felt like it was like, it ripped off a lot of things at times. Also, there were so many pointless moments in this movie where I was like, okay, what are you trying to do now? Like, there's this one scene involving several magic tricks that are kind of going on. Like, each of the characters shows off a magic trick at some point. It's like, okay, it's really cool. Everyone gets involved in the action at some point. But it doesn't forward the plot in any way. It doesn't really do anything. It just feels like a random moment rather than something that actually needed to happen. Just because it's in one shot doesn't mean it's automatically cool. And I say that because I shoot all my videos in one take, and I probably shouldn't. But it's just so annoying to me that it's like, what was the point of all this? Just to show off a one shot? Okay, fine. And also, I think the first two acts of this movie are at least fine. The last act is where the movie kind of just got a little boring for me. And also, when you finally find out what the main trick is and like what the reveal is, I honestly just wanted to shout out BS. But like, I kind of like, how? Just how? And like, I get it with these movies. It's like, they are ridiculous and a lot of things don't make sense, but a lot of it can just be explained as magic. But at the same time, I'm just so annoyed because, like, again, Rosamund Pike's character is really dumb in this movie. I hated her character. I hated the reveals that they have. It's like, how did you not realize this? How did I not realize this? Now, there are some movies where it's like, I'm glad I didn't see it coming because, like, I kind of got the rug pulled out from under me. And I feel like I like movies that actually surprise me. But this movie surprised me, but not in a good way. It was just frustrating by the end. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, movie? But Now You See Me, Now You Don't is a movie that I think it's mainly made for the fans of these other two movies. If you love the other two movies, go ahead and watch it because I think you'll really enjoy it. But as someone who doesn't really care for these movies, I can at least say I can see the appeal, but I still have a lot of issues with this movie. So even though some of the actors do a really good job, particularly Dominic Sessa, the magic scenes are pretty cool. There are some funny moments in this movie as well. And again, kind of see why people like it. I just did not care for the main reveal. I did not care for the third act. Rosamund Pike I thought was awful. It felt like it ripped off a few things at times. It felt like there were pointless moments throughout this entire movie. I can't say it's an awful movie because, again, I kind of found myself at least invested, but I can't really recommend it as someone who, watches movies all the time. So I will give Now You See Me, Now You Don't 2 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, what is your favorite unconventional heist movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe. Zap.